The champagne bubbles fizzed against crystal, a sound that made my chest tighten with each pop and clink. I sat at table 12, the forgotten table, tucked behind a marble pillar where the floral arrangements couldn't quite reach, and the warm glow of the chandeliers barely touched. My cousin Melissa's wedding was everything mine would never be, opulent, overflowing with laughter, drowning in the kind of joy that only money and security could buy. I smoothed down the cheap satin of my bridesmaid dress, a pale blush color that washed me out and made the circles under my eyes look like bruises. The fabric caught on my calloused fingertips. Remnants of double shifts at the diner, scrubbing dishes until my hands cracked and bled. I'd covered the worst of it with drugstore concealer, but under these lights, everything showed. Everything. Around me, couples swayed on the dance floor. The scent of expensive perfume mingled with white roses and something else. Old money, perhaps. That indefinable smell of people who'd never known hunger, never counted coins for bus fare, never chose between electricity and eating. "Another one bites the dust," my Aunt Carol had said earlier, her eyes sliding over me with barely concealed pity. "When's your turn, sweetheart? You're what now, 26? Clock's ticking." I'd smiled. Nodded. Said nothing about Marcus, about the engagement ring I'd pawned 3 months ago to cover rent, about finding him in our bed with my former best friend. Said nothing about being so spectacularly, devastatingly alone. The music shifted. A slow song now, something romantic and aching. I reached for my water glass, my only companion, when the air around me changed, thickened. The temperature seemed to drop and rise simultaneously, and I felt it before I saw anything. That primal awareness of being watched by something dangerous. Leather, bergamot, gunpowder. The scents hit me first, expensive and dark and completely out of place at this country club wedding. Then a shadow fell across my table, and I looked up. He stood there like a storm about to break. Tall, well over 6 feet, with dark hair pushed back from a face that belonged on Roman coins or Renaissance paintings, sharp jaw, sharper cheekbones, and eyes so dark they looked black in the dim light. But it was the way he held himself that stole my breath. Coiled power, predatory stillness, the bearing of someone who'd never heard the word no, and wouldn't recognize it if he had. His suit probably cost more than my car. Charcoal gray, perfectly tailored to shoulders that seemed too broad to be real, and beneath the jacket, I caught the edge of ink, tattoos crawling up his neck, disappearing into his collar like secrets. 2 men flanked him, standing at a respectful distance, professional, alert. Their hands clasped in front of them, eyes scanning the room continuously. Security. The kind that came with serious money or serious danger. "This seat taken?" His voice was whiskey and smoke, and it did something to my spine that I didn't want to examine. I blinked, looked around at the 8 empty chairs surrounding me. No. Yes. God, I sounded like an idiot. It's empty. The corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile, but something that made my stomach flip anyway. He sat without waiting for further invitation, and suddenly the air smelled like him, surrounded me with him, and I forgot how to breathe properly. "You're alone." Not a question. An observation delivered in that low, dangerous voice. "I'm fine." The lie tasted bitter, just taking a break from dancing. His eyes. They were brown, I realized, but so dark they seemed to swallow light, tracked across my face with an intensity that made me want to squirm, or run, or lean closer. I couldn't decide which. "Liar." The word snapped between us like a whip crack. I jerked back slightly, heat flooding my cheeks. "Excuse me? You haven't danced once." He leaned back in his chair, utterly relaxed in a way that somehow made him more threatening. "You've been sitting here for 47 minutes, drinking water, watching everyone else be happy." My heart hammered against my ribs. "You've been watching me." I noticed things. He tilted his head slightly, studying me like I was a puzzle he intended to solve. "You don't belong at this table. You're wearing a bridesmaid dress. Family?" "Cousin." The word came out smaller than I intended. "Bride's side. And they put you here." Again, not a question. He understood immediately, and something flickered across his face. Anger, maybe, or recognition. hidden away where no one has to see you being alone. Tears burned behind my eyes. I would not cry. Would not give this stranger, this beautiful, terrifying stranger, the satisfaction of seeing how thoroughly he'd peeled back my skin. Why do you care? I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his jacket, a movement that made one of his security guards shift slightly, and pulled out a phone, typed something. The device buzzed twice in rapid succession. He read whatever message appeared, and his jaw tightened. Because, he said finally, those impossible eyes locking onto mine, we're about to have company, and I need you to do something for me. What? Suspicion crept into my voice. Nothing was free. I'd learned that lesson the hard way. In about 30 seconds, a woman is going to walk through those doors. He gestured toward the main entrance with one hand. Long fingers, scarred knuckles, a watch that probably cost more than my annual salary, red dress, blonde hair. She's looking for me, and I need her to think I'm unavailable. My stomach dropped. I don't understand. Pretend I'm your husband, please. The word please coming from his mouth sounded wrong, like a tiger asking politely instead of simply taking, and yet there was something in his eyes. Desperation, maybe, or the shadow of old pain. I don't even know your name, I whispered. Does it matter? He shifted closer, and God, the heat of him, the overwhelming presence. She's here. I followed his gaze and saw her. A woman who looked like she'd stepped off a magazine cover, all legs and confidence and the kind of beauty that came from a surgeon's knife and a trust fund. Her red dress clung to curves that defied physics, and her eyes swept the room with the focus of a hunter. Please. He said it again, and this time he reached across the table and took my hand. His skin was warm, calloused. The touch sent electricity racing up my arm, and I gasped slightly before I could stop myself. His thumb traced across my knuckles, a gesture that looked tender, possessive, and completely inappropriate for strangers. What's your name? He murmured, leaning in close enough that his breath ghosted across my cheek. Emma. It came out breathy, weak. Emma Reed. Emma. He said it like he was tasting it, rolling it around in his mouth to test the flavor. I'm Dante. Just Dante. No last name. As if one name was enough to contain all that danger and darkness. The woman in red was closer now, weaving between tables, her smile predatory and bright. Panic clawed at my throat because I didn't know how to pretend. Didn't know what he wanted from me. Didn't know why I was even considering helping this stranger who'd appeared out of nowhere and stolen the air from my lungs. Kiss me. My eyes went wide. What? She needs to believe it. His free hand came up to cup my jaw, and the gentleness of the touch contrasted sharply with the command in his voice. Trust me. Just this once. I don't... But he was already moving, closing the distance between us with the inevitability of a wave crashing against shore. His mouth brushed against mine, soft at first, testing, asking a question my body answered before my brain could catch up. I melted into him. The kiss deepened, and suddenly his hand was in my hair, tangling in the careful updo I'd spent an hour creating. The room disappeared, the music, the laughter, the pitying glances from relatives who'd written me off as the family failure. There was only him, only this, only the heat and the hunger and the terrifying feeling of falling without knowing if anything would catch me. He pulled back slowly, reluctantly, and his eyes had gone molten, dangerous. Something predatory and possessive flickered across his face before he could mask it. Dante. The woman's voice cut through the moment like a knife. What a surprise. He didn't release me. Instead, his arm slid around my waist, pulling me closer against his side in a gesture that screamed ownership. Claiming. His thumb traced small circles against my hip, burning through the thin satin of my dress. Valentina. His voice had gone cold, empty of all the heat that had been there seconds before. I wasn't aware you'd been invited. She smiled, all teeth and venom. I go where I please. Her eyes cut to me, sharp and assessing. And who is this? My wife. The lie rolled off his tongue smooth as silk, and the way he said it, the absolute conviction, made something in my chest twist. Emma. Valentina's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. Wife? How unexpected. I hadn't heard. We keep our private life private. His hand tightened on my waist, a subtle warning or reassurance. I couldn't tell which. Now, if you'll excuse us, we were just leaving. He stood, pulling me up with him, and I stumbled slightly in my cheap heels. His arm steadied me instantly, and I caught the scent of him again, leather and danger, and something darker underneath that I couldn't name. But that made my pulse race. This isn't over, Valentina called after us, her voice carrying a threat that made ice slide down my spine. Dante didn't respond. He simply guided me away from the table, his security falling into step around us like well-trained wolves. We moved through the reception hall quickly, and I was aware of people staring, whispers following in our wake. Wait, I managed as we reached the exit. I can't just leave. My cousin will survive without you for one night. He pushed open the door, and the cool evening air hit my overheated skin like a slap. A black car waited at the curb, sleek, expensive, probably bulletproof. One of his guards opened the back door. Get in. I don't. Terror and exhilaration warred in my chest. I don't even know you. He turned to face me fully then, and in the moonlight, he looked like something from a dark fairy tale. Beautiful and terrible, and completely devastatingly dangerous. No, he agreed, his voice dropping to something that felt like a caress and a threat simultaneously. But you just became the most important person in my world. And now, Emma Reed. His hand came up to trace my jaw again. That possessive touch that made me shiver. You're coming home with me, where I can keep you safe from what I've just made you part of. The car door closed behind me with a sound like a vault ceiling shut. Heavy, final, trapping me inside with him. The interior smelled of leather so expensive, it probably had its own security detail, and the seats were butter soft beneath my trembling legs. Dante slid in beside me, filling the space with his presence, and suddenly, the spacious back seat felt suffocatingly small. Drive. One word, delivered to the man behind the wheel, older, graying at the temples, with eyes that had seen things I probably didn't want to imagine. The car pulled away from the country club smoothly, and I watched through tinted windows as my cousin's wedding reception grew smaller, the warm lights fading into pinpricks before disappearing entirely. My phone buzzed in my clutch, probably Aunt Carol wondering where I'd vanished to, but I couldn't make myself reach for it. You're shaking. Dante's observation cut through the silence, matter of fact and unavoidable. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly freezing despite the car's perfect climate control. You just kidnapped me from a wedding. Kidnapping implies unwillingness. He shifted slightly, and I felt his eyes on me like a physical touch. You got in the car. You didn't exactly give me a choice. There's always a choice, Emma. The way he said my name, like he owned it now, like it belonged to him, made heat pool low in my stomach despite my fear. You chose to help me. You chose to kiss me back. You chose to get in this car instead of running back to your table behind the pillar where everyone had forgotten you existed. Each word landed like a blow because they were true. All of it was horrifyingly, devastatingly true. Who was she? I heard myself ask. Valentina? His jaw tightened, shadows playing across the sharp angles of his face as streetlights flickered past. Someone from my past who doesn't understand the concept of boundaries. And what am I? The question burst out before I could stop it. Some kind of human shield? A prop to make her jealous? No. The word came out harsh, definitive. He turned to face me fully, and the intensity in his dark eyes made my breath catch. You're the best decision I've made in 5 years. You don't even know me. I know enough. His hand moved, and I flinched instinctively, a reaction born from Marcus's final night, from fists and fury, and my own stupid hope that he'd loved me. Dante froze, his expression shifting into something dangerous and cold. Who hurt you? What? You flinched. Each word dropped like stones into still water. Someone put his hands on you. Who? That's none of your... Tell me his name, Emma. The command in his voice should have made me angry. Should have made me demand he turn the car around and let me out. Instead, I found myself answering, the truth spilling out like blood from an old wound. Marcus, my ex-fiancé. I stared at my hands, at the indent on my ring finger where the engagement band had been. He didn't like that I couldn't afford the wedding he wanted. Didn't like that I worked 2 jobs and still couldn't keep up. Didn't like a lot of things, apparently. Where is he now? Something in Dante's tone made me look up sharply. His expression was calm, too calm. But his hands had curled into fists, and I could see the white of his knuckles even in the dim car interior. It doesn't matter. It's over. His name, Emma. And where I can find him. No. I surprised myself with the firmness in my voice. Whatever you're thinking, no. I don't need you to... You think I'm asking? He leaned closer. And God help me, I didn't pull away. You think any man who puts bruises on something precious gets to walk away? That's not how my world works. I'm not yours to protect, aren't you? His thumb traced my jawline, the same possessive touch from earlier, and my traitorous body leaned into it. You wore my ring for Valentina. You let me call you my wife. The moment you did that, you became mine. The certainty in his voice should have terrified me. Maybe it did. But there was something else there too, something warm and dangerous, and desperately seductive about being claimed so thoroughly by someone who looked at me like I mattered, like I was visible. The car turned onto a private road, trees closing in on either side like sentries. Security gates appeared, massive iron things with cameras and guards who stepped aside the moment they saw our vehicle. Beyond them, a mansion rose against the night sky, all stone and glass and impossible wealth. Where are we? My voice came out smaller than I intended. Home. Dante opened his door as we stopped in a circular driveway. My home. Yours now, too. I can't just... I have work tomorrow. I have an apartment. A life. He came around to my side, opening my door and extending his hand like a gentleman from another century. Call in sick. Your apartment in that neighborhood where you triple lock the door and still don't sleep? We'll send someone for your things, your life. His fingers closed around mine, pulling me out into the cool night air. It starts now. The front doors opened before we reached them. More guards, I realized, dressed in dark suits and carrying enough weapons to start a small war. Inside, marble floors stretched into shadows, illuminated by chandeliers that made my cousin's wedding look cheap by comparison. A woman appeared, 50s, efficient-looking, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back severely. Mr. Salvatore, should I prepare the guest room? No, Teresa. Dante's hand settled on my lower back, burning through the thin satin. She stays with me. My head snapped toward him. Absolutely not. You're my wife, remember? That ghost of a smile played across his lips again. Valentina has eyes everywhere. If you're not in my room, in my bed, she'll know it was a lie. It is a lie. Not anymore. He guided me toward a sweeping staircase, his grip gentle but unyielding. You helped me tonight, Emma. Now I'm going to return the favor by keeping you alive. Alive? Ice flooded my veins. What are you talking about? We reached the second floor, and he led me down a hallway lined with paintings that probably belonged in museums. Valentina Russo doesn't lose gracefully. By claiming you as mine, I painted a target on your back. The only safe place for you now is beside me, where I can watch over you. You can't be serious, but even as I said it, I remembered the cold promise in Valentina's voice, the predatory gleam in her eyes. He stopped in front of massive double doors, turning to face me. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. You're in danger because of me. I don't take that lightly. Then let me go. Tell her it was a mistake that we... No. The word cut through my panic like a blade. You're mine now. I don't give back what belongs to me. He pushed open the doors, revealing a bedroom the size of my entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked manicured gardens. A massive bed dominated the center of the room with sheets that looked like spun silk, and everything screamed wealth and power. In a world so far removed from mine, it might as well be another planet. I'll have Teresa bring you something to sleep in. Dante moved to a bar cart, pouring amber liquid into crystal glasses. You should eat something. You barely touched the food at the reception. How could you possibly know that? He handed me a glass, his fingers brushing mine deliberately. I told you. I notice things. Especially when it comes to you. The whiskey burned going down, but it helped steady my nerves. I watched him over the rim of the glass. This beautiful, dangerous stranger who'd upended my entire existence in less than 2 hours. Why? The question escaped before I could stop it. Why me? That wedding was full of women. Beautiful women. Women who wouldn't complicate your life. Dante set down his glass, and suddenly he was moving toward me with that predatory grace that made my heart race. He stopped inches away, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off his body, could count the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. You want honesty. His hand came up to cup my face, thumb stroking across my cheekbone. The moment I saw you sitting there, so perfectly broken and trying so hard to hide it, something in me recognized something in you. We're the same, Emma. Survivors. Fighters. People who've learned that the world takes and never gives back. I'm nothing like you, I whispered, but my traitorous body was already swaying toward him. Aren't you? His other hand settled on my waist, pulling me flush against him. You think I don't see the fire underneath all that fear? The steel spine holding you together when everything around you falls apart? I see you, Emma Reed, every beautiful, damaged, extraordinary inch of you. Tears burned behind my eyes because no one had ever looked at me the way he was looking at me now, like I was precious, like I mattered, like I was worth protecting instead of pitying. This is insane, I managed. Yes. He leaned down, his lips brushing against my temple in a gesture so tender it stole my breath. But you're safe here. I promise you that. No one touches what's mine. No one hurts you again. Not Marcus. Not Valentina. Not anyone. And what if you hurt me? The question hung between us, heavy and inevitable. His expression shifted, something vulnerable flickering across those dangerous features before he could mask it. Then, I'll be the monster everyone already believes I am. He stepped back, putting distance between us that felt like a physical loss. Get some rest. Tomorrow we deal with the consequences of tonight. He moved toward a door I hadn't noticed, an ensuite bathroom probably, but paused at the threshold. Emma? His voice was rough, strained. Thank you. For helping me tonight. For trusting me enough to get in that car. I'm not sure I did trust you, I admitted. He smiled then. A real smile. Small and devastating, and completely unexpected. Good. Trust should be earned, not given freely. I'll earn yours. Starting tomorrow. Then he disappeared into the bathroom, leaving me alone in his bedroom, wearing a bridesmaid dress from a wedding I'd abandoned, with a clutch holding a phone I was afraid to check because reality waited on the other side of that screen. I moved to the windows, staring out at gardens lit by subtle ground lights, at the high walls surrounding the property, at the shadows of guards patrolling the perimeter. A golden cage, beautiful and inescapable. My phone buzzed again, then again. I finally pulled it out, watching messages flood in. Aunt Carol. Where did you go? Melissa. Emma. Are you okay? People are asking about the man you left with. Unknown number. You looked beautiful tonight. D. My breath caught. He'd gotten my number. Of course he had. Men like Dante Salvatore got whatever they wanted. I should have been terrified. Should have been planning my escape, calling the police, doing anything except standing in his bedroom with my heart racing and my skin still burning from his touch. Instead, I found myself typing back. You're insane. The response came immediately. You're still here. He was right. I was still here. In his home, his room, his world, and God help me. Some broken part of me didn't want to leave. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the scent of coffee so rich it made my mouth water. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Forgot everything except the silk sheets against my skin and the warmth cocooning my body. Then memory crashed back like a wave. The wedding, Dante, the kiss that had rewritten my entire existence. I sat up too quickly, and the room spun. I was wearing a nightgown I didn't recognize. Soft cotton that fell to mid-thigh, far nicer than anything I owned. Someone had undressed me while I slept. The thought should have horrified me, but somehow I knew it had been Teresa. Not him. He would have woken me, would have demanded I watch while he peeled away each layer. The thought sent heat racing through my body. Good. You're awake. Dante's voice came from across the room, and I jerked my gaze toward him. He sat in an armchair by the windows, backlit by morning sun, wearing dark slacks and a white shirt rolled to his elbows. The casual elegance should have softened him, but somehow it made him more dangerous. I could see the tattoos clearly now. Intricate designs winding up his forearms, disappearing beneath the fabric. Words in Italian, dates, symbols I didn't recognize. How long have you been watching me sleep? My voice came out rough, accusatory. Long enough to know you have nightmares. He stood, moving toward the bed with that fluid grace that made my pulse spike. You cried out twice, called for someone to stop. Shame burned through me. I don't want to talk about it, Marcus. Not a question. His jaw tightened, and I watched his hands curl into fists before he deliberately relaxed them. Teresa left clothes for you in the bathroom. Breakfast is ready when you are. He turned to leave, but I couldn't stop myself from asking, where did you sleep? Dante paused at the door, glancing back over his shoulder. The look he gave me was pure heat. Banked fire waiting to consume. I didn't. I had work to do. People to call. Arrangements to make. What kind of arrangements? The kind that keep you breathing. He pulled open the door. Get dressed, Emma. We have visitors coming, and you need to look the part of my devoted wife. The door closed behind him before I could protest, leaving me alone with questions multiplying like viruses in my bloodstream. The bathroom was larger than my bedroom had been, all marble and gold fixtures and a shower that could fit 6 people. The clothes Teresa had left were expensive, designer labels I recognized from magazines I couldn't afford, a dress in deep emerald green, silk and perfectly my size. Underwear still in packaging, also somehow exactly right. Shoes that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I showered quickly, trying not to think about the security cameras that surely existed, trying not to wonder if Dante could see me now, vulnerable and bare beneath water that felt like warm rain. The thought made me ache in places I'd tried to forget existed. When I emerged, dressed and feeling like an imposter in borrowed finery, Teresa waited in the bedroom with coffee and a knowing smile. You clean up beautifully, dear. She handed me the cup. Porcelain, delicate, probably worth more than my car. Mr. Salvatore has excellent taste. This isn't real, I said, needing someone to confirm the insanity. You know that, right? This whole wife thing, it's pretend. Teresa's smile didn't waver. I've worked for the Salvatore family for 30 years. I've seen Mr. Dante with many women. None of them spent the night in his bed. None of them made him smile the way you did last night. She moved toward the door, pausing at the threshold. Real or pretend, you matter to him. That makes you dangerous to his enemies. Be careful, Emma, and trust him. He'll burn the world down before he lets anyone hurt what's his. She left me with those ominous words echoing in my mind. Downstairs, I followed the sound of voices to a dining room that looked like something from a castle. The table could seat 20 easily, but only 3 places were set, 1 at the head, 2 on either side. Dante stood by the windows, speaking rapid Italian into his phone, and I took the opportunity to study him. Power radiated from him like heat from a furnace. Even motionless, even just talking, he commanded the space, made it his. 2 guards flanked the doorway, and I recognized them from last night, the wolves who'd circled us at the wedding. Dante ended his call, turning to find me watching. His eyes traveled down my body slowly, thoroughly, and I felt that gaze like a touch. Perfect. He moved toward me, and suddenly his hands were on my waist, pulling me close. You look like you belong here. I don't. But I didn't pull away, couldn't, when his touch made my skin sing. You will. His thumb traced my hip bone through the silk. Our guests arrived early. They're waiting in my office. I need you to play your part, Emma. Can you do that? Who are they? Associates. People who need to believe our marriage is real, or everything I've built becomes vulnerable. His hand came up to cup my face, and the gesture felt reverent, possessive. Just follow my lead. Let me touch you. Don't pull away. And whatever you hear, whatever they say, remember, you're safe with me. Before I could respond, he kissed me. Not the desperate claiming from last night, but something deeper, slower. A brand that seared itself into my soul. I melted into him, my hands fisting in his shirt, and when he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. Good girl, he murmured against my lips, and the praise made something in my chest crack wide open. He led me down another hallway, his hand possessive on my lower back, and I tried to steady my racing heart. We stopped before double doors, and Dante looked down at me with an expression I couldn't read. Remember, you're mine. Act like it. Then he pushed open the doors. 3 men sat in leather chairs arranged around a massive desk. They stood as we entered, and I felt their eyes assess me with the cold calculation of predators evaluating prey. Gentlemen, Dante's voice had shifted, harder now, edged with authority that made the air vibrate. My wife, Emma Salvatore. Salvatore. Hearing my name paired with his made something dangerous curl in my stomach. The oldest of the 3, silver-haired, expensive suit, eyes like chips of ice, stepped forward. Dante. We heard rumors, but to see it confirmed. His gaze slid to me. She's quite young. Pretty, though. I can see the appeal. Careful, Antonio. Dante's arm snaked around my waist, pulling me against his side. That's my wife you're evaluating like livestock. Antonio smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Of course. Forgive an old man's bluntness. It's just surprising. We all assumed after Valentina. Valentina is the past. Dante's grip tightened on my waist, almost painful. Emma is my future. I trust that won't be a problem for any of you. The other 2 men exchanged glances. One was younger, maybe 40, with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. The other looked bored, picking at invisible lint on his sleeve. No problem at all, Antonio said smoothly, though I admit curiosity. How did you meet? The daughter of which family? Emma isn't from a family. Dante's interruption was sharp, definitive. She's civilian. Clean. Untouched by our world until I claimed her. Civilian. The word hung in the air like a noose. How romantic. Antonio's smile widened, showing too many teeth. And risky. Does she understand what she's married into? She understands enough. Dante's hand moved, fingers splaying across my stomach in a gesture that screamed possession. And she's under my protection. Anyone who forgets that will answer to me personally. The threat landed like a stone in still water. Ripples of tension spread through the room. Of course, the scarred man said. We're here to discuss the shipment, not your domestic arrangements. Good. Dante guided me to a chair, but instead of letting me sit separately, he pulled me down onto his lap. I gasped, and his arm locked around my waist, holding me against him. Then let's talk business. I tried to focus on anything except the hard length of his thighs beneath me, the heat of his body seeping through silk, the way his thumb traced absent patterns on my hip. But their conversation washed over me in waves. Coded language about merchandise and territories, numbers that made my head spin, casual references to violence that made my blood run cold. This wasn't a business meeting, it was a negotiation between criminals. Dangerous men discussing dangerous things. And I was sitting in the middle of it, playing wife to a man whose world operated on rules I couldn't begin to understand. The Russos won't be pleased about the northern routes, Antonio said, watching Dante carefully, especially with Valentina already. Displeased about recent developments. Dante's hand tightened on my waist. The Russos can voice their concerns through proper channels. Valentina's personal feelings are irrelevant to business. Are they? The board man finally spoke, his voice soft and lethal. She called me last night, said you'd humiliated her publicly, flaunted your new wife at a family wedding like a trophy. I don't answer to Valentina Russo. Each word dropped like a hammer. Not anymore. Not ever again. Her father might disagree. The temperature in the room plummeted. I felt Dante's entire body coil with tension, muscles turning to steel beneath me. Then her father and I need to have a conversation. Dante's voice had gone quiet, the kind of quiet that preceded storms. One that clarifies exactly where boundaries lie. Emma is mine. Our marriage is legitimate. Anyone who challenges that challenges me. Silence stretched like a blade across throat. Finally, Antonio stood. I think we have all the information we need. The shipment will proceed as discussed, and will convey your position regarding your wife to interested parties. Translation. They'd tell Valentina's father that Dante had drawn a line in blood. The men filed out, each nodding to Dante with varying degrees of respect and wariness. When the door finally closed behind them, I tried to stand, but Dante's arm held me in place. Not yet. His breath ghosted across my neck, making me shiver. Let them get to their cars. Let them leave the property. What kind of business are you in? I whispered, though I already knew. Had known since last night, if I was honest. The kind that keeps you in silk dresses and security. His lips brushed my shoulder. The kind that makes me dangerous to know and deadly to cross. You're in the Mafia. Yes. No denial, no sugarcoating. Just brutal honesty. I run the Salvatore family operations, have since my father died 5 years ago. My heart hammered against my ribs. And you brought me into this? You made me a target? I made you untouchable. He finally released me, letting me stand. But he rose with me, crowding into my space. As my wife, you're protected by rules older than either of us. Sacred rules. No one touches the boss's wife. Not without starting a war, unless they decide you're vulnerable. The words came from somewhere deep and knowing. Unless they think hurting me hurts you. His expression shifted into something feral. Then they die. Slowly. Publicly. As an example to anyone else who might consider it. I should have run. Should have demanded he let me go. Should have screamed for help, though from whom I couldn't say. Instead, I asked, what happens now? Dante's hand came up to cup my face. His touch impossibly gentle for someone who just casually discussed murder. Now, I teach you how to survive in my world. How to navigate the dangers, how to be the queen standing beside the king. I never wanted to be a queen, no. His thumb traced my lower lip, and I couldn't stop myself from trembling. You wanted to be invisible, safe, forgotten. But I see you, Emma, and I'm not letting you disappear. 3 weeks passed like fever dreams, beautiful and terrible, and impossible to distinguish from reality. Dante kept me close. Not locked away like I'd feared, but tethered to his side with invisible chains made of protection and possession. I learned the rhythm of his world. Early mornings when he disappeared into his office for calls I wasn't meant to hear. Afternoons when Teresa taught me which fork to use at formal dinners, and how to smile without showing fear. Evenings when he'd return to find me and pull me into his arms like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. We hadn't slept together, not in the way that mattered. Though we shared his bed every night, he'd hold me while I pretended to sleep. His body a furnace at my back, his arm locked around my waist like he was afraid I'd vanish. Sometimes I'd wake to find him watching me with an intensity that should have terrified me, but instead made me ache. Why don't you touch me? I asked one night, the darkness making me brave. His hand had stilled on my hip, fingers flexing against silk, because once I start, I won't stop. And you're not ready for what I'd demand from you. How do you know what I'm ready for? He'd rolled me onto my back then, looming over me in the shadows, and the hunger in his eyes had stolen my breath. When you stop flinching when I move too fast, when you stop having nightmares about men who hurt you, when you look at me and see a lover instead of a captor, then I'll give you everything you're asking for. Until then, I wait. The restraint had made me want him more. Now I sat in his office, curled in the leather chair by the window while he worked. It had become our routine, me reading or sketching while he handled whatever dark business kept his empire running. The domesticity of it felt surreal, but also right in a way that scared me. Emma. His voice cut through my thoughts. Come here. I set down my book, moving to stand beside his desk. He pushed back his chair, patting his thigh in clear invitation. I'd stopped hesitating at these commands, had learned that resistance only made his eyes darken with predatory satisfaction. I settled onto his lap, and his arm came around me immediately, anchoring me against him. Read this. He handed me his phone, and I saw a text message thread. Unknown. She's pretty, Dante. Fragile looking. I wonder how she'd break. Ice flooded my veins. Who sent this? Someone who wants to test my boundaries. His hand moved to my thigh, possessive and warm through the thin fabric of my dress. Someone who's going to learn what happens when they threaten what's mine. I scrolled up, seeing days of messages, threats, promises of violence, photos of me, leaving the estate in the car, walking through the gardens, visible through windows I'd thought were private. They've been watching me. My voice shook despite my efforts to control it. Yes. His grip tightened. Which is why you're not leaving the property anymore. Not until I've dealt with this. You can't keep me prisoner, but even as I said it, I knew he could. Would. Already had. In ways that had nothing to do with locks and everything to do with the way my body responded to his nearness. I can keep you alive. He took the phone back, setting it aside before turning me to straddle his lap. The position forced intimacy, our faces inches apart, his hands settling on my hips with bruising intensity. That's all that matters. Who's doing this? His jaw tightened. Valentina, or someone working for her father. Testing to see if my marriage is real, if you're truly under my protection, or if you're just a convenient fiction they can erase. And if they decide I'm not worth protecting? The question came out smaller than I intended. Dante's hand came up to fist in my hair, tilting my head back to expose my throat. The gesture should have felt threatening, but his thumb stroked gently along my racing pulse. Then I burn their entire organization to the ground and salt the earth where it stood. His lips brushed my jawline, making me gasp. You're worth 1,000 Valentinas. Worth starting a war over. And if they're too stupid to see that, they'll learn. You're insane, I whispered, but my hands had already moved to his shoulders, anchoring myself against him. Yes. His mouth traveled down my neck, teeth grazing sensitive skin. Completely insane. For you. Because of you. You've ruined me, Emma. Made me weak in ways that could destroy everything I've built. Then let me go. But I was arching into his touch, contradicting my own words. Never. He pulled back to look at me, and the raw need in his eyes made my breath catch. You think I don't know what this is? What you've become to me? I've killed men for less than looking at what's mine. And you, God, Emma, you're the only thing in this world I'd actually die to protect. Don't say that. Tears burned behind my eyes. Don't make this more than what? A convenient arrangement? A protection detail? His laugh was harsh, broken. I'm in love with you. Have been since that first night when you looked at me with those frightened eyes and still chose to trust me. Still got in the car. Still stayed. The confession shattered something in my chest. You don't love me. You barely know me. I know you take your coffee with too much sugar because the bitterness reminds you of things you'd rather forget. I know you sketch flowers in the margins of books when you think no one's watching. I know you have a scar on your left shoulder blade from when Marcus pushed you into a glass table, and I know the names of every man who ever made you feel small. His hand cupped my face with devastating gentleness. I know you're terrified of thunderstorms, but you pretend to be brave. I know you cry in the shower where you think I can't hear you. I know everything that matters, Emma, and I love all of it. This is crazy, but I was crying now, tears streaming down my face. We've known each other 3 weeks. Time is irrelevant. He wiped my tears with his thumbs, his touch reverent. I knew the moment I saw you. Knew you'd be the one who either saved me or destroyed me, possibly both. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. Then again. He glanced at the screen, and his entire body went rigid. What? Fear clawed up my throat. What is it? They took someone. His voice had gone cold, empty of all the warmth from seconds before. One of my men left him on the steps of the estate with a message carved into his chest. What message? He showed me the photo one of the guards had sent. The image was brutal. A young man, probably mid-20s, bloodied and unconscious, and across his chest, cut deep enough to scar, were 4 words. The wife dies next. I stumbled off his lap, bile rising in my throat. Dante caught me before I could fall, pulling me against his chest. Breathe, he commanded. Emma, breathe. They're trying to scare you. It's psychological warfare. It's working. I couldn't stop shaking. Oh God, that man will be taken care of. He's alive. They wanted him alive to deliver the message. Dante's hand stroked my hair, a contrast to the deadly calm in his voice. But this ends now, tonight. He pulled out his phone, making a call. When someone answered, he spoke in rapid Italian, too fast for me to follow with my limited understanding, but I caught certain words. War. Blood. Retribution. What are you doing? I asked when he ended the call. Calling a meeting. Every family in the territory. Neutral ground. His eyes met mine, and they were black with rage barely contained. I'm making it clear that you're not just my wife in name, that harming you means war with everyone who's ever owed me a favor. And Emma, his hand cupped my face. I'm owed a lot of favors. This is because of me. Guilt crashed over me in waves. That man got hurt because you claimed me. No. His grip tightened. He got hurt because Valentina Russo is a spoiled child who can't accept that I chose someone else. Because her father indulges her tantrums instead of teaching her consequences. This isn't your fault. It's theirs. And they're going to pay for it. He kissed me then. Hard, and claiming, and desperate. I kissed him back with equal fervor, pouring 3 weeks of tension and fear and unwanted desire into the connection. His hands roamed my body like he was memorizing me, like he thought this might be the last time. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. I need you to do something for me, he said, his forehead pressed against mine. I need you to stay in this house. Don't go near windows. Don't answer the door for anyone except Teresa or my personal guards. And if something happens, if you hear gunfire, if anyone breaches the perimeter, there's a panic room behind the bookshelf in our bedroom. You go there, you lock yourself in, and you don't come out until I come for you. You're scaring me. Good. His thumb traced my lower lip. Fear keeps you careful, keeps you alive. I need you alive, Emma. Need it more than I need my next breath. Come back to me, I whispered, the words escaping before I could stop them. Whatever you're planning, whatever happens tonight, come back. Something shifted in his expression. Hope, maybe, or recognition. Say that again. Come back to me. You called this home. His smile was devastating, dangerous. You said come back to me like you're waiting for me, like you want me to return. I realized what I'd admitted, the truth I'd been avoiding for 3 weeks. I do. God help me. I do want you to come back. Want you here. I couldn't finish, couldn't admit the full depth of how thoroughly he'd invaded my heart. Want me? He pulled me closer, our bodies flush. Say it, Emma. Tell me what you want. You. The confession tore from somewhere deep and honest. I want you. All of you. Even the dangerous parts. Even the parts that should terrify me. He kissed me again, slower this time, thorough and claiming. When he pulled back, his eyes had gone molten. When I come back, not if, when, I'm making you mine in every way that matters. No more sleeping chastely beside you. No more restraint. I'm going to claim every inch of you, Emma. Make you forget any man who came before me. Make you scream my name until the whole city knows who you belong to. Heat flooded through me, pooling low in my belly. Promises, promises. His laugh was rough, pleased. Careful, wife. I always keep my promises. He stood, setting me away from him with visible effort. Stay inside. Stay safe. I'll be back before dawn. Dante. I caught his hand. I meant what I said. Come back to me. Always. He brought my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles. You're my home now, Emma. The only one that matters. Then he was gone, striding out of the office with purpose and deadly intent. I heard him barking orders in Italian, heard cars starting in the driveway, heard the sounds of an army mobilizing. I moved to the window, watching as a convoy of black vehicles pulled away from the estate. Dante sat in the lead car, visible for just a moment before they disappeared through the gates. Teresa appeared at my elbow, silent as a ghost. He'll be all right, dear. Mr. Dante always comes back. How do you know? She smiled sadly. because now he has something worth coming back to. You changed him. Gave him something to fight for beyond power and revenge. What if it's not enough? My voice cracked. What if they kill him because of me? Then they'll have to go through every loyal soldier in his command first. And Emma. She squeezed my shoulder. The Salvatore family inspires loyalty that borders on worship. Those men would die for him. Will die for him, if tonight demands it. I pressed my hand against the cold glass, watching shadows move in the gardens as guards patrolled. Somewhere out there, Dante was walking into danger, risking everything to protect me. To prove that his claim on me was real, unbreakable, worth going to war over. And I realized with crystal clarity that I loved him, completely, terrifyingly, irrevocably. Come back, I whispered to the empty night. Please, Dante, come back to me. The hours crawled past like wounded animals, slow and agonizing. I paced the bedroom, unable to sit still, unable to think about anything except Dante, walking into danger because of me. Teresa had brought tea I couldn't drink, food I couldn't eat. Every sound made me jump, the wind against windows, guards changing positions, the creak of the old house settling. Midnight came and went, then 1 a.m., 2. At 3:17 in the morning I heard it, the distinctive sound of car engines approaching fast, too fast. I ran to the window, my heart in my throat, and saw the convoy returning, but something was wrong. One car was missing, and the lead vehicle had bullet holes spiderwebbing across the windshield. I was already running before I'd made the conscious decision to move. Down the stairs, through hallways that had become familiar, my bare feet slapping against cold marble. Guards tried to intercept me, but I pushed past them, desperate and terrified, and needing to see with my own eyes. The front doors burst open, and men poured through, bloodied, limping, supporting each other. And then I saw him. Dante strode in like a conquering warrior, his white shirt splattered with blood that I prayed wasn't his knuckles split and raw, a cut above his eyebrow still seeping crimson, but he was alive. Whole. Moving with that same predatory grace despite the violence written across his body. Our eyes met across the chaos, and everything else disappeared. Emma. Just my name, but the way he said it. Relief and possession and something deeper that made my knees weak. I closed the distance between us at a run, and he caught me, lifting me off the ground as I wrapped myself around him. His arms locked around me like steel bands, crushing me against his chest, and I didn't care about the blood or the other men watching or anything, except the fact that he was here. He was safe. He'd come back. You're hurt, I managed, pulling back to touch the cut on his face with trembling fingers. Barely. His hand came up to cup my face, thumb stroking across my cheekbone. You should see the other guy. Is it over? Please let it be over. Yes. He set me down but kept me close, his arm around my waist. It's over. Valentina's father has agreed to control his daughter. Anyone who threatens you answers to every family in the territory now. You're protected by more than just my name. You're untouchable. Relief made me dizzy. How? I called in every favor I was owed. Made it clear that harming you meant war, with not just the Salvatores, but everyone allied with us. Made them understand that you're not a weakness. You're the line that cannot be crossed. His expression hardened, and I made an example of the men who thought they could scare you, made sure everyone knows what happens when someone threatens my wife. The possessive emphasis on my wife sent heat racing through me despite everything. Sir. One of the guards approached, his expression carefully neutral. The perimeter is secure. All threats neutralized. Doctors waiting in your office for injuries. Good. Dante didn't look away from me. Clear the house. I want everyone out except Teresa and the night patrol. Understanding rippled through the assembled men. They filed out efficiently, some limping, others being supported, until only silence remained. Dante turned back to me, and the look in his eyes made my breath catch. I told you what would happen when I came back. My pulse hammered. You're hurt. You should see the doctor. Later. He backed me toward the stairs, stalking forward with predatory intent. Right now, I need to feel you. Need to claim what's mine. Need to erase the last 3 hours of wondering if I'd ever touch you again. Dante. But it came out breathy, wanting. Tell me no. He crowded me against the banister, his body trapping mine. Tell me you don't want this, and I'll walk away. Get patched up. Give you space. But Emma. His hand slid up my thigh, burning through the thin nightgown Teresa had given me. If you don't say no in the next 5 seconds, I'm carrying you upstairs and keeping every promise I made before I left. I should have been rational, should have made him see the doctor first, should have processed everything that had happened, should have been cautious and careful and smart. Instead, I grabbed his shirt and pulled him down to kiss me. He groaned into my mouth, the sound vibrating through both of us, and then he was lifting me, my legs wrapping around his waist as he carried me up the stairs. We kissed the entire way, desperate, hungry, 3 weeks of restrained desire finally unleashed. He kicked open the bedroom door, carrying me straight to the bed and laying me down with surprising gentleness, given the fire in his eyes. He stood over me for a moment, just looking, and I felt that gaze like a physical caress. You're so goddamn beautiful, he said, his voice rough. And you're mine. Say it. Yours. The admission came easily now, natural as breathing. I'm yours, Dante. Something fierce and triumphant flashed across his face. He shrugged out of his jacket, then his ruined shirt, revealing the full tapestry of ink covering his torso. More than I'd imagined. Words and symbols and artwork that told stories I wanted to spend hours decoding, but what caught my attention were the scars. Old bullet wounds, knife marks, the physical evidence of a life lived dangerously. I sat up, reaching out to trace one particularly vicious scar across his ribs. Does it hurt? Not anymore. He caught my hand, pressing it flat against his chest where his heart thundered. This is the only thing that hurts now. Wanting you, needing you, trying to be gentle when all I want is to devour you. Then don't be gentle. I met his eyes, letting him see the truth. I'm not fragile. Not anymore. You made me strong. Now show me how you really feel. The restraint snapped. He was on me in an instant, his mouth claiming mine with bruising intensity while his hands roamed my body, peeling away fabric with impatient efficiency. I arched into his touch, 3 weeks of sleeping beside him, but never truly having him making me desperate. I love you. He groaned against my throat, teeth grazing my pulse. God, Emma, I love you so much it terrifies me. Show me. I pulled him closer, nails digging into his shoulders. Show me how much. He did. Slowly at first, worshipping every inch of skin he exposed, learning what made me gasp and arch and beg. Then faster, harder, claiming me so thoroughly that I forgot my own name. Forgot everything except the feel of him, the taste of him, the overwhelming rightness of finally being completely his. We moved together like we'd done this 1,000 times, like our bodies had been designed to fit perfectly. Every touch ignited fire, every kiss stole breath, every whispered word of possession and love, and forever made me fall deeper into this dangerous man who'd saved me by ruining me for anyone else. When we finally shattered together, my name on his lips and his branded into my soul, I understood what Teresa had meant. He'd come back because I'd given him something worth fighting for. And in return, he'd given me everything I'd never known I needed. Afterward, we lay tangled together, his arms locked around me like he still couldn't quite believe I was real. I traced the tattoos on his chest, following the lines and curves. What do they mean? I asked softly. Each one is a story. His fingers combed through my hair, gentle and soothing. This one. He guided my hand to a date on his ribs. The day my father died. This one. Another symbol. My first kill. This one. He pressed my palm over his heart, where I felt fresh bandaging I hadn't noticed before. Today's date. The day I claimed my wife completely. I looked up sharply. You got a tattoo tonight? In the middle of everything? His smile was devastating. Had to. Needed something permanent. Proof that this is real. That you're real. That I didn't dream the way you looked at me before I left. His thumb traced my swollen lips. I'm going to fill my entire body with reminders of you. Every important moment. Every time you make me feel human, instead of the monster everyone thinks I am. Tears pricked my eyes. You're not a monster. I am. His expression turned serious. I've done terrible things, Emma. We'll probably do more to protect what's mine. I won't apologize for that. But with you... He cupped my face with both hands. With you, I get to be something else. Something better. You make me want to be the man you see when you look at me. I see you. I whispered. All of you. The darkness and the light, and I love all of it. Marry me. The words tumbled out urgent and unexpected. I know we told everyone we're already married, but make it real. Let me put a ring on your finger that means something. Let me stand in front of witnesses and vow to protect you, worship you, love you for the rest of my life. We barely know each other, I said, but I was already smiling. I know everything that matters, and I'm going to spend the rest of our lives learning the rest. He kissed me softly, tenderly. Say yes, Emma. Make this real. Make me yours the way you're already mine. I thought about the girl I'd been 3 weeks ago, alone at a wedding, invisible and forgotten, convinced she'd never matter to anyone. Then I looked at the man holding me like I was precious, who'd started a war to keep me safe, who looked at me like I hung the stars. Yes. I kissed him back, pouring every ounce of love and hope and terrified joy into it. Yes, I'll marry you. Really marry you. His answering smile was blinding, transforming his dangerous features into something almost boyish. Thank God. Because I already called the priest. He'll be here tomorrow to make it official. I laughed, the sound startling me with its genuine happiness. You were that confident? No. He pulled me impossibly closer, burying his face in my hair. Terrified you'd say no, but hoping you'd say yes, praying you'd want this broken, violent man who loves you more than his next breath. I do want you. I tilted my head to meet his eyes. Want this. Want everything with you, even when it's terrifying and dangerous and completely insane. It will be all those things, he warned, his expression serious. Being with me means living in constant danger, means making enemies, means violence will always be a shadow over our lives, I know. And I did. Had learned enough in 3 weeks to understand what I was choosing, but it also means never being invisible again, never being forgotten or pitied or left behind. It means being loved so fiercely that you'd burn the world to keep me safe, always. His vow was absolute, unshakable. I'll protect you with everything I have, everything I am. No one will ever hurt you again. No one will make you feel small or worthless or alone. You're the queen of my empire now, Emma. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you know exactly how precious you are. We stayed like that as dawn crept through the windows, painting the room in soft gold. 2 broken people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way, who'd chosen each other despite every reason not to, who'd built something real from a desperate lie. Outside, guards patrolled the perimeter. In the city, word would already be spreading. Dante Salvatore had claimed his wife completely, had gone to war to protect her, had made her untouchable. Valentina would rage, plot, perhaps even attempt something foolish. But it wouldn't matter. Nothing would matter except this. His arms around me, my head on his chest, the steady beat of his heart beneath my ear. I love you, I whispered, as sleep finally began to claim us both. I love you more. His lips pressed against my forehead, the gesture tender and reverent. My Emma, my wife, my everything. 3 months later, we stood in the estate's garden before a small gathering of family, chosen and blood. I wore a dress that cost more than my old life, a ring that caught sunlight like captured stars, and a smile I couldn't have hidden if I tried. Dante looked devastating in a black suit, his eyes never leaving mine as we exchanged vows that made the ones we'd faked at the wedding feel like cheap imitations. When the priest pronounced us married, really, legally, permanently, Dante kissed me like he was claiming me all over again. Mine, he murmured against my lips. and everyone watching probably heard the possessive satisfaction in that single word. Yours, I confirmed, kissing him back with equal fervor. Always yours. Teresa wiped away happy tears. The guards applauded. Somewhere in the background, I heard Antonio making some comment about Dante finally settling down, about how love had made him even more dangerous, because now he had something real to lose. But I didn't care about any of that. Cared only about the man holding me like I was his entire world, who'd seen me alone and forgotten and decided I deserved to be cherished instead. We'd started with a lie. Pretend I'm your husband, please. A desperate request from a stranger at a wedding where I'd felt invisible, but we'd built something true from that fiction. Something strong enough to survive violence and threats and the dangerous world he inhabited. Something that transformed us both, made him more human, made me braver, made us into the kind of love story that defied logic but felt inevitable anyway. That night, as we lay tangled together in the darkness, his hand resting possessively on my hip and my head on his chest, I thought about the girl I'd been, alone at table 12, drowning in other people's happiness, convinced she'd never have her own. What are you thinking? Dante's voice rumbled through his chest. That I'm glad I said yes. I tilted my head to look at him that night, when you asked me to pretend. I'm glad I didn't run. His arms tightened around me. Best decision you ever made. Second best, I corrected, stretching up to kiss him. The best was saying yes when you asked me to make it real. His smile was pure joy, untainted by the darkness that usually lived in his eyes. Then we're both lucky. I found you when I needed you most, and somehow convinced you to stay. You didn't convince me of anything. I settled back against him, safe and loved, and exactly where I belonged. You just showed me what it felt like to matter, to be seen, to be chosen. Every day, he promised, his voice dropping to that commanding tone that still made my pulse race. I choose you every day, Emma Salvatore. For the rest of our lives. For the rest of our lives, I echoed, and meant it with every fiber of my being. Outside, the world continued spinning, dangerous and unpredictable and full of threats we'd face together. But here, in the sanctuary of our bedroom, wrapped in each other's arms, we were untouchable. Not because of his power or his name or the empire he commanded, but because we'd found something stronger than any of that. We'd found each other, and that was worth fighting for, worth protecting, worth everything. My story had started with sitting alone at a wedding, invisible and forgotten. It ended with being loved so completely that I'd never be invisible again, and somehow, impossibly, beautifully,